Madam Chair, following up on what the Chair Jailak has said, where a bill is being amended, almost every clause, would it be in order to suggest that they publish the bill so that it doesn't, because I imagine every clause being amended, Madam Chair, that's a clear signal that something must not be working well. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You want to respond to that, Honorable Murugara?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The mere fact that almost every clause is being amended does not mean we are actually losing the substance of the bill. We are making the bill a better law. And there is nothing absolutely stopping us from doing that. We are not deleting the clauses such that we are entirely removing the bill. It's where we feel this clause needs a slight amendment, a major amendment, whatever amendment is required. That is allowed by our standing orders. It's also allowed by the lawmaking process. So we are not losing the gist and substance of the bill, but we are making it a better law so that it complies with our constitution, it complies with the aspirations of the members of parliament, and also the Kenyans at large. Thank you.
Yes, but Honorable Murugara, just remember that what Honorable Makali is asking about is that they would like to have a full draft of how it looks now, so that it's just for ease of reading, isn't it? Isn't that what you're asking for, Honorable Makali? Yeah, so just access to the complete draft, so that they are not looking at two documents. One is the original bill and one is the proposed amendments, so that you just have one document for ease of reference and for debate. There was another, just before you respond to that, let me get the point of order from Honorable Rosso, just so that in case you have to answer both.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I think our precedence has already been said. The last time Honorable Pukose was prosecuting a bill, that had basically changed the bill. And midway, this House was not able to prosecute that bill in the Committee of the Whole. And the Speaker had to recall that bill for basically putting it aside until we have a fresh bill. With tremendous respect to my brother, Honorable Murungara, and also he sat through that bill of Pukose. For that reason, I think we should not repeat what is already out there, and we know it for a fact. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Justice Kemi.
Madam Speaker, in addition to what the honorable colleagues have said, this is a very critical bill. It touches on matters of corruption in this country, and it touches on public servants. So, Madam Speaker, I was also of the opinion that instead of us comparing two pieces of paper, we would rather have just one piece of paper which we'll look at and make a decision on it. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Okay, I think you, Honorable Murugara. And I think there's nothing wrong with providing material to members.
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. And unfortunately, it is not possible to do what is being requested to provide one document. The reason being, remember the bill that was debated in this House is the original bill. So you must hold that bill in one hand, then you look at the committee report with the proposed amendments on the other hand. It will only become one bill if the amendments sail through and the bill now becomes an act of parliament. That's when you take the amendments, you put them into the bill, and you have one document. As we speak today, or as we speak now, we have the original bill by the leader of majority. We also have the committee report on the other hand. As regards the proposal that we shelve the bill at this present moment in time, let us first see what is being proposed for amendment. That is number one. The Speaker will also have to look at the proposals which are going to be on the order paper, and then we will take a decision as to whether we should be redoing a new bill, and that can only be done by the leader of majority, not by the committee, because this is not a committee bill. It's a committee by the leader of majority, and the work of the committee was purely to examine it clause by clause as the responsible committee. So we cannot put the cart before the horse. We have to deal with it this afternoon. And please get a copy of the report, because if you rely on what you are told, that may not be true. Get a copy of the report. It has the clauses to be amended, and you have also to get the original bill, because that is what is done.
I think, Honorable Murugara, I don't think the members are asking that you change the standing orders or publish a new act. What they are asking is as a working document that they can have access to. And I think that is something that can be done by the clerk's office. And Honorable Murugara, you're a lawyer. What happens when there's amendments? You simply publish the entire document and then cross out what is being crossed out and write in a different color what is being introduced. Isn't that what happens when you do amendment of pleadings? So I think they're looking for a document like that for ease of reading, not a new publication, because that would contravene the standing orders. I think that is possible, and I think if you liaise with the clerk of your committee and also the clerk's office, they should be able to produce one and circulate to members. Will that make you happy, Honorable Makali and Justice Kemei?
You know, Honorable Speaker.
In case I'm saying the wrong thing, just...
No, Honorable Speaker, what you are saying is very correct, but at the same time, the fact that the chair, JLAC, is saying the substance of the bill has not changed, but at the same time, in a situation where you have about, let's assume there are 20 clauses to that bill, and 18 of them have been amended, automatically it means the main body of the bill, and it's been amended by the committee, at the committee level. It actually agrees with what Honorable Russell was saying. Because if you remember the other bill we were discussing, what the Speaker did was harmonize and then literally publish another bill, which is now captures the issues. But what you are saying now, you will come even at the third reading, the committee of the whole House. What will happen is, even comparing the original with the new one, Honorable Speaker, will be very tricky. Because every clause has been amended, and I can tell you for sure it will be very difficult for members to follow even in terms of text, in terms of content, and the whole objective of the bill. But it seems like where we are, might not be able to go back. Let's survive with the way it is. But what you're saying makes a lot of sense. It will help members. The situation where, as you're saying, you delete the original, put so that you can easily compare and see what is changing. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yeah, Honorable, I think just let me say this. Honorable Russo, we cannot say we are going to use the precedent that has been established because they are different, the bills are different, and the circumstances may be different. That bill is not yet before us. So I think we are also speculating what might be there. I think Honorable Murugara has said, let us read it. So Honorable Murugara, if the members have access to a document that can be a working document, just for their ease of reference, not a new publication, at the time, then members can actually see whether it's the objects and purpose of the bill has completely changed or has not. For now, we'll take your word for it, and then members can be able to make that decision at the time when the bill is actually properly before the House. But give them the working document so they can have an informed input to the bill. I think that's a middle ground.
Better approach, absolutely. Get a copy of the report. It has the schedule of amendments, just the way we do it in the House. Also get the original bill. Remember, it has gone through a second reading and passed. So the only thing left is committee of the whole House. That's where we can deal with it from that stage. Get the original bill, get a copy of the report, and you just see what is being proposed. Justification is also given in that report. It's not anything we are creating. Every proposal to amend, whether a comma, whether a word, whether a sentence or phrase, we have given justification. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that's settled, honorable members. Let us proceed. The next order, is there another paper? Proceed to order number 5.
Order number 6, notices of motion. Order number 7, questions and statements.
Do we have any statements? Okay. Okay, there's a statement by the member for Samburu North, Honorable Eli Letipila. Is he here? Oh, there. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 44-2C, I wish to request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Security regarding reported revenge killings and rising insecurity cases in Samburu North constituency. Honorable Speaker, bandit attacks and cattle rustling have continued to wreak havoc in the North Rift regions over the years. Hundreds of lives have been lost and thousands of livestock stolen in a vice that has led communities living in Alberta, Nachola, Nyiro, and Angata Nanyuke wards in desperate state, despite the government gazetting these areas as disturbed zones. In the recent 3 lives have been lost in Samburu North constituency following revenge killings by unknown assailants in a span of 2 weeks. Mr. James Loiborkera, ID number 24760971, was attacked and shot dead on 9th November 2023 while grazing his goats. Mr. Almika Lerete, ID number 21514758, was killed while at home within Gilai village on 20th November, while Mr. Agustin Egelan, ID number 23810913, was gunned down on 23rd November 2023, a teacher, while walking home within Baragoi town. Honorable Speaker, on October 2022, at Baragoi Stadium in Baragoi in Samburu North constituency, His Excellency the President gave a directive to end the rising insecurity cases and cattle rustling that have led to loss of lives, displacement of residents, and loss of thousands of livestock in the northern regions of the country. Consequently, following a spike of violent activities by militias, pastoralist militias, the government launched an operation dubbed Operation Maliza Uhalifu North Rift. However, its long-term impact remains uncertain due to multiple security challenges in the North Rift and the risk of overstretching government resources and government security forces. Honorable Speaker, it's against this background that I request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Security on 1, the status of the peace operations in Samburu North constituency, particularly in Alberta, Nachola, Nyiro, Ndoto, and Angata Nanyuke wards of Samburu North constituency. 2, the reasons for pulling out the Special Operations Group of the Administration Police from Baragoi in Samburu North, despite their efficient role in reducing lawlessness and bringing normalcy in Samburu North, and the plans to reinstate the said group to continue with security and peace operations in the area. 3, measures put in place by the government to manage the rising cases of revenge killings, past and present, within Baragoi area and bring the culprits to book. And 4, the number of people arrested, arraigned, and convicted in court over these attacks in order to restore public confidence within the communities living in Samburu North. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member for Samburu. Next order. Is it Interior Chairperson for Defense? Oh, you're there. There you are. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I stand in for the Chair of Administration and Internal Security Committee. Last week, the committee was in Samburu West and Turkana East and Turkana West. The committee will be visiting next week Marakwet and West Pokot. We are fully aware of what is happening in Samburu, in Laikipia, Baringo, Turkana, and West Pokot. For that reason, we'll respond to the statement by Honorable Etipila in 2 weeks' time. But also we are going to call all our colleagues from those disturbed areas. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Kangogo Bowen.
Madam Speaker, the stories we've been hearing for many years about how the insecurity in Kerio Valley, the northern part of the country, is going to be addressed, both from chairs in this House and even in the office of the President under the Cabinet Secretary of Internal Security, has always been the same. And there is nothing comes out of it. Madam Speaker, being our colleague, as the Honorable Raso, who is one of our colleagues and is in that position, courtesy of all of us, especially from this pastoral region, I want to ask the Honorable Raso not to be taken rounds again by the Cabinet Secretary and the security apparatus in this country on the same stories that they are going to establish a police station here, they are going to do this, they are going to do this. Let's go for a practical solutions. And we have given, as leaders from those areas, in many cases, we have given a practical solutions of NPRs to be deployed in every communities, and they need to be armed so that because they know the entry and the exit routes of these criminals, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the reason why Kerio Valley, those parts of Samburu, there is insecurity because there is no infrastructure. These are places which has been completely neglected, no government in place, no water points, no roads, no schools, no judge, nothing. There is no government. Those people, they are just living by their own. So, Madam Speaker, we want to even, because I have raised statements in this House, no member from Kerio Valley or from the northern part of this country, Madam Speaker, has not raised a statement in this House to do with insecurity. All of us, we have raised. But it's the same story we are getting. Can we get something different? When Waziri comes here, he tells us he's going to deploy police officers. He's able as the same.
Allow him to complete his sentence, I think.
I'm done.
Who's that next to Honorable Bowen? My eyesight is. Give the member to the right of Honorable Bowen.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the member for Samburu for bringing that issue. And Madam Speaker, I think it is very unfortunate that at this particular time, at this particular moment in Kenya, we are still hearing Kenyans dying because of cattle rustling and other related issues, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I think we need to have a full report and an action plan, Madam Speaker, to show how the Kenyan police are actually acting on these matters. Madam Speaker, when you go around this country, when you hear the member for Marakwet East saying there is no government in that place, some of us, we have police, we have people who are busy collecting bribes in the roads, Madam Speaker. They should actually, we need to rationalize the police, Madam Speaker, because we have police who are just on the roads. They're just collecting bribes, petty crimes, Madam Speaker, harassing women, harassing children, Madam Speaker, in some places. I think it is high time that we rationalize the police. We take them to where they are needed. We take them to places where support is needed, Madam Speaker. So I think I want to support our colleague from Samburu, and actually we call upon the police who are actually there now, the leaders, the security team, that when all these matters are happening, where are they? What is the issue? Where are the issues? Don't they have vehicles? At this era of technology, Madam Speaker, it's very unfortunate to hear people with arrows and without vehicles can ambush a village, get away 100 kilometers, Madam Speaker, without the government arresting them, Madam Speaker.
Yeah, Honorable Ruku, and if somebody could help, I think I need help with my screen. I need my screen to be on so I can recognize the member of parliament speaking, because they are far away, I can't see them. Honorable Ruku?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this issue of insecurity in this part of country, we need also to address the issue of culture. Because some of these insecurities are derived because of the culture of the people of that area, and that is the truth of the matter. That raiding cattle, raiding other people's, other communities' homes, driving away huge herds of cattle is considered as heroism in this part of the country. Madam Speaker, these leaders who come from this part of the country, they need also to address the issue of culture so that that kind of insecurity can be settled. We will continue blaming police officers, we will continue blaming government, when it is us, ourselves, who perpetuate this kind of culture, Madam Speaker. I think it is important for the leaders in this House to consider, having a deliberate discussion with the elders, with the young people of these communities to see how this kind of culture can change. It cannot be heroism to go and drive huge herd of cattle using guns just to be a hero in that society. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I'll give one more person. That the member for Turkana, my screen is not working, so I can't see your face clearly. All right, proceed. 5 minutes, and then we can close this, because I've just indulged the members.
Madam Speaker, I want to thank you so much for this opportunity. Looks like this corner on this side is disadvantaged. Maybe you will need another lens to be able to see us.
No, it's just usually my screen works, so your face comes up
Thank
on
you.
the screen,
Thank
but
you.
today
Thank you.
it's not working.
Most guided. Honorable Speaker, we are discussing the issue of insecurity again in northern Kenya. The issue brought out by Honorable Eli is very pertinent to this country. And
Honorable Meli, kindly, we need you in the room, and team.
Honorable Speaker, the issue at hand is very pertinent. I want to thank Honorable Eli for bringing it out. Again, we are repeating the same thing as Honorable Bowen has mentioned, that soon we'll be like crying babies. And from the onset, I want to see how the CS Kindiki will always be coming to give us a brief on the progress that is happening in northern Kenya, especially on the operations that was approved, that is going on. Madam Speaker, what is happening in Samburu, as reported, especially in Samburu North, is very unfortunate at this time. Number one, we have lost 3 lives in 2 weeks, in 1 month, this month of November. And it's like, if you look at what is happening, the bandits are coming back to town. They are urbanizing their banditry tactics. And in this case, we, those who stay in the urban areas, are also at risk. Number 2, those who have lost their lives were killed, not even mentioned, living in areas that are bandit-prone, but in towns. That calls for a speech, and we will request the CS, Kindiki, to give us an update of what has just happened. Because a life lost is important to us in the north and to Kenya. Madam Speaker, it is important to get a review of what Kindiki is doing. It is important for us to work together with him so that we don't keep on just being told this thing is happening when nothing is happening. Madam Speaker. Lives are being lost. We are being told there's an operation. People are losing their livelihoods every time now and then, even their beneficiaries. Madam Speaker, I will beseech that we get to understand what is happening once and for all. Otherwise, soon we may request even to see if we can secede, and we discuss it, because we are getting almost being killed day in, day out. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Okay, next order.
Order number 8, procedural motion. Exemption of certain business from Standing Order 43.
Deputy Majority Leader.
Honorable Speaker, I would like to move a motion on exemption of certain businesses from Standing Order 43. That this House resolves to exempt the business of appearing as Order number 12 in today's order paper from the provisions of Standing Order number 43, being a Wednesday morning, a day allocated for business not sponsored by the majority or minority party or business sponsored by a committee. Honorable Speaker, we have this very important bill, number 12, the National Lottery Bill, which was debated yesterday. And I think members expressed themselves adequately yesterday. And I think the only business we have today, Honorable Speaker, I'll request you, is that we reply to this motion. And at reply, we expect to put the question in the afternoon. And therefore, we request that we be exempted from the normal procedure, that being a Wednesday morning, which is specifically done for members' business, we allow that this motion be put on the order paper, that we discuss. The only thing that we need to do, Honorable Speaker, is that we reply. Then, so that we have an opportunity to put the question in the afternoon, so that we may be able to finish this particular piece of legislation within this session, so that it does not have to go to the next session. Honorable Speaker, I request the Honorable Ruku, the gentleman from Meru, and from Mbere. You know, yes, Mberes are tall, Merus are short. So please, kindly second this motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. In Bere we have giants. I'm one of them, and the other giant was the Honorable Justin Muturi, the former Speaker of this House. Madam Speaker, I rise to second this motion because it is important that we have this discussion. We debate this National Rotary Bill, so that it's very important, it's very timely that it will establish National Rotary Board and the National Rotary Fund in this country. Mr. Speaker, this is an important motion, and this is an important bill. It needs to be allocated time this morning, so that we can be able to expedite the implementation process. Madam Speaker, I second.
Honorable members, I now propose the question that this House resolves to exempt the business appearing as Order number 12 in today's order paper from the provisions of Standing Order 43, being a Wednesday morning, a day allocated for business not sponsored by the majority or minority party or business sponsored by a committee. It's the mood of the House. I put the question. Honorable members, I now put the question that this House resolves to exempt the business appearing as Order number 12 in today's order paper from the provisions of Standing Order 43, being a Wednesday morning, a day allocated for business not sponsored by the majority or minority party or business sponsored by a committee. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 9. The Cancer Prevention and Control Amendment Bill number 2, National Assembly Bill number 45 of 2022. Second reading. Question to be put.
Is that order number 9? Honorable members, I now put the question that the Cancer Prevention and Control Amendment Bill number 2, Bill of the National Assembly, Bill number 45 of 2022 be read a second time. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
The Cancer Prevention and Control Amendment number 2, Bill 2022. A bill for an act of parliament to amend the Cancer Prevention and Control Act and for connected purposes.
Next order.
Order number 10, the Wildlife Conservation and Management Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 3 of 2023. Second reading, question to be put.
Honorable members, I now put the question that the Wildlife Conservation and Management Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 3 of 2023 be read a second time. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
A bill for an act of parliament to amend the Wildlife Conservation and Management Act 2013.
Move to the next order. Yeah? Honorable members, I seek your indulgence that just for efficiency of the House, that I reorder the order paper so that we go immediately to order number 12, and then we'll come back to order number 11, which is Committee of the Whole. So order number 12. What's your point of order?
Order number 12. Order number 12, the National Lottery Bill, National Assembly Bill number 69 of 2023. Second reading, resumption of debate.
What's your point of order, Honorable Ruku?
Madam Speaker, I rise on point of order number 95. I'm starting order number 95. That this motion was discussed and by many members, and I think it is a mood of the House that we call the mover to reply. Thank you.
Is that the mood of the House, Honorable Deputy Majority Leader? Proceed. You may reply.
Honorable Speaker, the lottery, the National Lottery Bill, which we canvassed here yesterday, and the members expressed themselves adequately on this bill, that there are many issues that are raised that we will handle at third reading, several amendments that members raised. This is an important bill, Honorable Speaker, because, as you know, this country has had before the Kenya Charity Sweepstake. The Kenya Charity Sweepstake, Honorable Speaker, did a lot of charity work because of the money that was accumulated through lottery. And there is a lot of lotteries that are happening in this country, although they come in the form of gambling, and which we must put a law. I think we have the gambling bill coming up. But lottery is important to build reserve, to build capital for many development of this country. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, I beg to reply to this so that we have an opportunity to continue to put the question in the afternoon. But as I do that, I would like to request the Honorable Mutunga to take only 1 minute, as if you allow Honorable Mutunga, I want to donate to him 1 minute to express a few items, and then we finish with it. Honorable Mutunga.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for
Proceed,
the Honorable Deputy Majority Leader for giving me a minute. Honorable Speaker, we have decided to do this law to better regulate the sector. Therefore, let us do a very good law. Honorable Speaker, there are a few omissions that I would like to note. One of them is the qualifying. One of the functions of the board is to qualify who actually gets registered as a national lottery agency. The board does not have that function. And if you look at clause 24 clearly provides for the same. So it is missing in the functions, and it is being brought again as a function of the board. The other issue, Honorable Speaker, the issue of monitoring the performance and the fees and levies that might come by or maybe come by is important. The other issue, Honorable Speaker, we need to be raising money within the subsectors to sustain the subsector, even as we look at sustainability. We may need to consider a levy for this particular, for any monies that is accruable, so that it can be used to run the subsector. So, Honorable Speaker, some of those I'll be bringing in the as amendments in the land reading. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honorable members, I now put the question that the national... I thought you finished replying. You didn't? Oh, you gave out... You finished, yes. He did. He just donated a minute of his time. Honorable members, I now put the question that the National Lottery Bill, National Assembly Bill number 69 of 2023, be read a second time. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
A bill for an act of parliament to provide for the establishment of the National Lottery, the National Lottery Board, and the National Lottery Fund, and for connected purposes.
Next order.
Order number 11, Committee of the Whole House.
We may take our seats. Good morning to you, members. Order number 11 deals with the Committee of the Whole House on the National Youth Council Amendment Bill, a very short one. I'm sure it's going to take us 5 minutes or 10 at most. Then we can go back to the other business in the order paper.
Clause 3.
All members, I propose the question that clause 3 be part of the bill. The mover of this bill, Chairperson, or the Honorable Alice Nganga is around.
Thank you, Chair. That I move that clause 3 of the bill to be amended by deleting paragraph B. Chair, I wish to move the amendment as per the order paper. Clause 3B of the bill seeks to remove the power of the youth to erect their own responsibility to the National Youth Council and confer upon the Cabinet Secretary responsibility matters relating to the youth and the power to nominate 9 youth to be in the council. This does not foster the dictates of Article 55B of the Constitution, which provide that the state should take measures to ensure that the youth have opportunity to be presented and participate in political, social, and economic and other spheres of life. Further, Clause 3B of the bill dictates the right of the youth to choose and elect their own leaders who should champion for the youth agenda. Noting the need to retain the spirit of youth participation through a democratic process coming up with the council, I move to delete the proposed amendment Clause 3B as per the order paper.
Thank you. Members, I propose the question that Clause 3 be amended as proposed by the chairperson of that committee. I now put the question that Clause 3 be amended as proposed by the Honorable Alice Nganga. Will as many other opinion say aye? Will as many other opinion say nay? Ayes have it. Members, I now put the question that Clause 3 as amended be part of the bill. As many other opinion say aye? As many other opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 4.
Members, I propose the question that Clause 4 be part of the bill. Mover.
Thank you, Chair. That Clause 4 of the bill be amended by deleting the word paragraph G and substituting it there for the word paragraph F. I beg to move the amendment to Clause 4 as per the order paper. The proposed amendment to Clause 4 of the bill seeks to correct typographical error and make reference to the correct paragraph. B.
I propose the question that Clause 4 be amended as proposed by the Honorable Alice Nganga. I now put the question that Clause 4 be amended as proposed by the Honorable Alice Nganga. As many other opinions say aye. As many counter opinions say nay. The ayes have it. I now put the question that Clause 4 as amended be part of the bill. As many other opinions say aye. As many counter opinions say nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 2. Clause 2.
I propose the question that Clause 2 be part of the bill. I now put the question that Clause 2 be part of the bill. As many other opinions say aye. As many counter opinions say nay. The ayes have it.
Title.
I propose the question that the title be the title of the bill. I now put the question that the title be the title of the bill. As many other opinions say aye. As many counter opinions say nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 1.
I propose the question that Clause 1 be part of the bill. I now put the question that Clause 1 be part of the bill. As many other opinions say aye. As many other opinions say nay. The ayes have it. The mover, where you are, could you move move for reporting? Honorable Kandie.
Thank you, Chairperson. I beg to move that the committee do report to the House its consideration of the National Youth Council Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 1 of 2023, and its approval thereon with amendments.
Thank you, honorable members. I now put the question, which is that the committee do report to the House its consideration of the National Youth Council Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 1 of 2023, and its approval thereof with amendments. As many other opinions say aye. As many other opinions say nay. The ayes have it.
Chairperson to report.
The Honorable Speaker, I beg to report that the Committee of the Whole House has considered the National Youth Council Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 1 of 2023, and approved the same with amendments.
Thank you. Move of the bill.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I beg to move that the House do agree with the committee in the said report. I request Honorable Tuku Kwenya to second. I call upon Honorable Benja to second.
I second, Madam Speaker.
Honorable members, I propose the question, which is that the House do agree with the committee in the said report. We'll defer the question to a later time. Okay, next order.
Order number 13, the Geriatric Bill, National Assembly Bill number 50 of 2022, second reading.
Mover of the bill, Honorable Mushomba.
Madam Speaker, I rise to move the Geriatric Bill, National Assembly Bill number 50 of 2022 on the floor of this House. Madam Speaker, geriatric or geriatric medicine is a medical specialty focused on providing care for the unique health needs of the older persons or the adults. The term geriatrics originates from the Greek, meaning old man, and trix meaning healer. So Geriatric Bill 2022 seeks to effect Article 57 of the Constitution of Kenya to ensure provision of proper care and maintenance of well-being of the elderly people of Kenya. Madam Speaker, Geriatric Bill 2022 was committed to the Labor and Social Welfare Committee for the consideration and undertakes pre-publication, scrutiny, and makes appropriate recommendations required pursuant to Standing Order number 106, subsection 6. The bill therefore seeks to effect the Article 57 of the Constitution to establish a National Council for the Elderly, to provide for the care of the elderly persons, to provide for the empowerment and protection of the elderly persons of Kenya, and maintenance of their well-being, safety, and security. Madam Speaker, world over, a society is measured by how it takes care of the elderly citizens, and therefore, as a country, we need to prioritize the needs of the elder persons of this country, provide budgetary allocations to deliver on such services, and it is on this backdrop, Madam Speaker, that the Geriatric Bill 2022 was developed with the primary objective and operationalization of Article 57 of the Constitution through the establishment of the National Council for the Elderly. Madam Speaker, we are all going to be subjects and victims of age, and therefore it is important that we handle this issue with a lot of concern, because we are either elderly or going to become elderly, or we have relatives, mothers and fathers who are elderly and requires their issues taken care of through the House. The objectives and purpose of this bill, Madam Speaker, is to establish a National Council for the Elderly Persons of Kenya, provide a legal framework that promotes the rights of the elderly as enshrined under Article 57 of the Constitution of Kenya, promote and protect the dignity, the well-being, the safety, the security of the elder persons of Kenya, provide for a framework for the registration of elderly persons of Kenya, and establishment and management of residential facilities for the elderly, what we call care centers in Kenya, and prohibit the abuse of elderly persons of Kenya. Madam Speaker, the provision of the bill shall apply to all entities providing the services of the elderly persons of Kenya and binds both natural and juristic persons to the application of the extent. The bill seeks to improve the living conditions of the older members of the society by providing for their rights to dignity, right to safety, right to security, education, health, equality, and non-discrimination. Madam Speaker, to realize the objectives of this bill and the purpose of this bill, the government entities and other institutions providing services to the elderly shall be guided by specific principles with common intent to fulfill the basic human rights and principles of respect, protection, promotion, and fulfillment of the rights of the elderly persons as enshrined under Article 57 of the Constitution, principles of fair and equity treatment of the elderly persons of Kenya, accountability of duty bearers, and transparency in implementation of this act, and pursuant to provision of Article 27 of the Constitution, Madam Speaker, ensure protection of elderly persons from discrimination on any grounds including age, health, status, and disability. Targeted empowerment of the elderly persons, preservation of freedoms and dignity of the elderly persons, and establishment and monitoring of evaluation of mechanisms on how transparency in the management of facilities of the elder care, of the elderly. Madam Speaker, the bill delegates registration's power but does not limit to the fundamental rights and freedoms. The bill is seeking to provide the will and form the basis of enhanced service delivery to the elderly in the country and will fortify legislative architecture with regard to social issues concerning to the elderly people of Kenya. It is in this line, Madam Speaker, that the bill seeks to solve the discrimination that has been happening around the service delivery to the elderly persons of Kenya. The bill also seeks to formulate and provide a legal framework on coordination of activities for people who seeks to provide services to the elderly people of Kenya. The bill prescribed to the eligibility criteria includes 24 in the state intervention on matters pension and other related benefits accruing to older persons in the society. Other rights include legal representation, family, and community care. Madam Speaker, as I seek to move this bill, I am quick to note that the elderly persons of Kenya for a long time have suffered a lot of discrimination. Look at what happens when elderly persons of Kenya are involved in legal matters where they require representation in courts or wherever they need those services. Madam Speaker, most of these people are not able to access legal services, but the government has not provided for any provision where an elderly person of Kenya can get free legal services and support from the government. And that is why this bill is coming in place. Madam Speaker, in the last few years, in the last 1 decade in Kenya, the elderly persons of Kenya have been registered in various government platforms where they are supposed to be provided for their monthly stipend. Madam Speaker, the registration of those people is discriminative. Reason being, the people who are trusted to go and register the elderly persons of Kenya in the villages do not have a legal framework. They do not even have a formal way of keeping their database. It is in this line that we are proposing that we come up with a national body called the National Council for the Elderly People of Kenya, so that the council can come up with a legal framework on how we'll be doing the registration and how we'll be ensuring that there is accountability and transparency when it comes to the dissemination of information, training of the elderly people, informing them on government programs, and more specifically, to make sure that accountability of government resources has been taken care of. Madam Speaker, the youth of Kenya have a council. Madam Speaker, the people living with disability in Kenya have their own council. Madam Speaker, we have councils for specific categories of people, but we don't have a council for people who are elderly. We need an advisory council, we need a management council, we need a council that can be able to allocate budgets so that we can be able to know how much money we require. For example, for parents living with diabetes, parents living with hypertension, and even old parents who require other personal care needs. Madam Speaker, it is in that line that I decided to come up with this bill, and I'm forever grateful to this House, and more specifically to the Committee of Labor and Social Protection, headed by the chairperson, Honorable Alice Wambui Ng'ang'a, for the immense support that I have received when I struggled to come up with this bill. And I am keen also to note, Madam Speaker, that this is a bill that we all require because we are all subject and victims of old age. Thank you, Madam Speaker. And therefore, I beg to move. Thank you.
You have a seconder?
I would request that the Honorable Naomi Wako seconds.
Honorable Naomi Wako, proceed to second.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. May I also congratulate Honorable Wamushomba for coming up with this very important bill that will take care of our elderly. And as she has rightly said, that the elderly in our society have suffered a lot because of negligence, and sometimes even their own children don't take care of them. And before, Africans used to take care of the elderly because they also believed in the blessings that they received from their fathers, their grandparents, and great-grandparents. But today, that is not the case. Many elderly people have been exposed to a lot of danger, and especially those who own a bit of land and who have no one to take care of them. Because people eye their properties, sometimes people don't want to take care of them. They have been exposed, and that is why I am here to second her and also urge other members to support so that our elderly can live honorable lives even in their old age and can age gracefully. And therefore, Madam Speaker, I second.
Thank you, Honorable Naomi. Honorable members, I now propose the question that the Geriatric Bill, National Assembly Bill number 50 of 2022 be read a second time. The Honorable Alice Ng'ang'a, member for Thika Town and chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I just want to rise to support the Geriatric Bill. Honorable Speaker, it talks about our vulnerable in the society. And first, I want to congratulate and to thank Honorable Gathoni Wamushomba for thinking about our elderly persons. And it is true, we have various councils for different categories, but there are none that represent the elderly. So this bill is very timely. Those elderly members of our society were once very vibrant like us. It's only a time has come, even us, in some years to come. We are also going to join them in that category of the elderly. So thinking about them, and especially when they reach at the age of 70, especially what the government has done, is to give them a stipend of 2,000 Kenya shillings. And we know in the month of September, we recruited more because the last time we did a registration was in 2017. So it was right for this government of Kenya Kwanza. In 2023, September, we did a mass registration across the country, and they came out in large numbers. 700,000 of them came out. And I also want to thank this House because they went back to the grassroots as the members of the National Assembly to help register the elderly, and that's how we came up with 700,000, a number, and it was a great number. And I also want to inform the House that from the month of March, they also be included in receiving their 2,000 Kenya shillings, as the rest of the other ones who are registered in 2017. So having a council to oversee how the elderlies are doing and how they are treated. We live in the society where we see that even before, when the money was sent to them, the 2,000, their family members knew that the 2,000, especially when they were not paid, it is not like now where they are paid at the end of every month. There's a time there was a delay. Before we came in, they would stay even for 7 months without being paid. And their family members would realize that the elderly was going to receive 14,000 Kenya shillings, and they were there and they would take the money from them. I thank the government because right now they receive at the end of every month, so meaning at least, you know, at that age, most of the time that money goes to medication. And so when it comes to timely, it really do assist them. Having this council, the council is going to be representing their needs. It is going to be knowing those who are sick or those who are not sick. It is going to know those who are abused or those who are not abused. So it is a good thing, and we should look forward to having these councils because they do represent these people back at home. So even when it comes to the third reading where the amendments will be done, I'll be seated here. When we went through the report, we realized there were a few areas that needed to be amended, and when that time comes, I'll do it because this bill is very timely and it is needed by our society. Once again, I want to thank Honorable Mushomba. Thank you very much for thinking about our elderly in the society. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I support.
Thank you. The Honorable Julius Ole Sunkuli, member for Kilgoris.
Madam Speaker, I wish to support this bill and to thank the Honorable Member for Githunguri for thinking about this bill and thinking about our elderly people. Article 57 of our Constitution, of the 2010 Constitution, provides that the state shall take measures to ensure the rights of older people. And this is with respect to the fact that older people are vulnerable in many ways, and that the law should protect them so that they can be able to live in dignity and respect, and that they should live free of abuse. And these are the principles that this bill has actually emphasized on. And this, the Constitution of Kenya has built upon the policy, what has been described as the National Social Protection Policy of May 2012. And the government of Kenya has been urged and nudged several times, even by Parliament, to ensure that the protection of older people is a matter of law as well as a matter of discipline. Madam Speaker, it is unfortunate that nowadays this particular matter is no longer a community issue. In days gone by, it was a responsibility of the family, of the community, to protect their elderly persons. But now that our community is also looked after by the government, it is good that this bill is bringing some responsibility to the government to ensure that older people are looked after. And I'm happy that this issue of legal representation of the elderly people is actually emphasized in this bill. That when a person gets old, I have an old man in Kilgoris, he's about 90 years of age. He's being bothered by family and everybody over land because he owns a lot of land, but he lives in poverty because he has been taken to court and he cannot be represented by anybody. And I think that this law emphasizes the fact that these people must be given a guarantee that they have a lawyer, that they are protected, so that they do not have relatives who are praying for them to get to die so that they can inherit the land. A person must be able to enjoy his property, even if it is for 10 years, even if it is for 15 years, and the law must be able to guarantee this. I see that this bill also has a very interesting concept, which I think is welcome for the men, that older people have a right to remarry, and that when an older person has lost his spouse, that the children or his relatives should not be able to should not say, no, you are too old to marry. If that is what is going to make you happy, whether as a man or as a woman, I think it is the responsibility of the laws of Kenya.
What is out of order? Honorable.
I think they are just happy, Madam Speaker, about this point.
You are just excited about the elderly having a right to marry? You proceed with your debate, member for Kilgoris.
Yes, Madam Speaker, and as I keep on saying, I'm grateful to Honorable Wamushomba for having said so in the bill, that in fact these rights be entrenched. Because, Madam Speaker, you know, when King David in the Bible was very old, they looked for every cure for him, and they only found remarriage as the only option. And he was given a young bride to look after him. That should be a right. And it should not be seen that this is something that the family can dictate to you. Madam Speaker, I missed the discussion on the population policy in Kenya. But now, it is clear that in this country, we still have the advantage that our younger people are more than the older people. When it gets to a situation where the older people are more, like in Europe, it would have complicated our situation. Because we still have that advantage, it is good to entrench in our law that society, even beyond government, has a responsibility to protect its older people. The young people must look after the older people, and that there must be a way in which we can compel sons and daughters who do not want to look after their old people to suffer the same consequences under the law as the people who neglect their children. So that if you neglect your elders, it is the same thing, punishment, that you receive as if you neglected your children. This law, Madam Speaker, is very, very good for our social protection. It is a recognition that if all of us are praying for many years on earth, that one day we shall all get old and that we shall want to benefit from this law. And I commend it to the House. It's a good law, and let us support it. I support.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Timothy Toroitich, member for Marakwet West.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to contribute on this very important bill. Honorable Speaker, at the onset, let me take this opportunity to thank the Honorable Muchomba, the MP for Githongori, for such a progressive piece of legislation. Honorable Speaker, there was a time I spoke here, and Honorable Muchomba spoke very good things about me on a motion I sponsored on cancer fund motion that I brought for this House. Honorable Speaker, I also want to thank the people of Githongori for choosing such a progressive member of Parliament. Honorable Speaker, for the first time, the elderly in this country are going to be recognized. Honorable Speaker, Article 57 of the Constitution provides very clearly for the rights of the elderly. Honorable Speaker, in this country we have a progressive constitution that has recognized three marginalized people. That is the youth, PWDs, and the elderly. Honorable Speaker, the elderly, the PWDs in this country have a law. That is the National Cancer Bill, the National Cancer Act. The Persons Living with Disabilities Act that provides for the PWDs. We have the National Youth Council Act that provides for the youth. For the first time, Honorable Speaker, we shall have a law that provides for the elderly. The only thing that I want to challenge Honorable Muchomba is she has called the bill the Geriatric Bill. Honorable Speaker, I wish to call upon the committee to relook at the title of this bill and call it the National Council for Elderly Bill, so that we avoid the complicated title of the bill, so that it provides very clearly that this is a bill that deals with the elderly and it creates a council. Honorable Speaker, if you look...
Timothy Toroitich, just give me a minute. I would like to give an opportunity to the Honorable Chairperson, the Honorable Alice Nana.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Is it a point of information?
No, I just want to inform him. Point of information.
Okay, would you like to be informed by the chairperson?
Yes.
You would like to be informed? Yes, proceed, chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I just want to inform the member that, like I have said, when we come to the third reading, the committee went through the bill, and we have those amendments to the bill. And at that point, Honorable Member, we were going to address all where we found that the bill need to be amended. Thank you, including the title. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. So,
Chair, that is, I think that is in order, so that we can have the Council for Elderly bill instead of the Geriatric bill. Chair, Honorable Speaker, for the avoidance of doubt, if you read Article 57 of the Constitution, which I said is very progressive, it provides very clearly, Honorable Speaker, that the state shall take measures to ensure the rights of older persons to fully participate in the affairs of society, to pursue their personal development, to live in dignity and respect, and to be free from abuse, and to receive reasonable care and assistance from their family and the state. So, Chair, Honorable Speaker, these are constitutional provisions that provides that the elderly are not in this country on their invitation. They are in this country by right. And Honorable Speaker, for the first time, if you read the clause 2 of this bill on interpretation, for the first time, elderly person has been defined to mean a person who has attained the age of 60 years for the first time. It has never been defined in the Constitution, but this bill for the first time defines who an elderly person is. So that if someone retires, then there is a law in place that has made specific provisions on the definition of their age, of elderly. Honorable Chair, elderly persons have suffered in this country in terms of pension. Look at this provision of clause 7B. It provides that this council shall handle matters through pensions. Honorable Speaker, I have had issues from my constituency. Teachers who have retired at the age of 60, but cannot get their pension until the age of 70 because of serious irregularities involving their employer. So, Chair, Honorable Speaker, if we have this council, then they can be able to fight and defend the interests of the elderly persons who cannot get their rights and benefits if they have retired from the public service. Honorable Speaker, I have also seen a very interesting provision that provides for child care, for the elderly care, so that elderly homes are set up and run by this council. Honorable Speaker, elderly persons in this country have suffered. Most of them are, when they retire, they go to the village, their children abandon them, and they end up living a miserable life. So, Chair, if we have this council, that means they can solicit for support. If the family cannot be able to take care of their elderly persons for one reason or another, then they shall have a home where they can retire as they await exit from planet Earth. Honorable Speaker, I support this bill, and I thank the honorable member for this very progressive piece of legislation.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Stephen Mogaka, member for West Mogirango. He seems to have stepped out. The Honorable Ruth Odinga, member for Kisumu County.
Thank you, Speaker. First of all, I'd like to thank my Honorable Chair, Honorable Muchomba, for bringing up this bill, because this is a very important bill. And I think that it's high time that we did it. Myself, as a Ruth, I suffer from this very much. I have my auntie, the only sister to Mzee Jaramogi, who is 105 years old, and she suffered a stroke, and after 5 days, the doctor told me to take her home to wait for her death. Now, we didn't take her home, and I took her in my care, where she's still with me. She's now 106 years old, but I have to foot all the bills to make sure that we as a family have to foot that to make sure that she's still alive. She has fully recovered and is still going strong. This is one of the ladies who has been a hero in Kenya because she was there during the Mau Mau, and she has been one of the people who was being given even some monies owed to her because of the period that they were there during that period. Now, to me, the times are changing. Let's be realistic. We have got epidemics like in Nyanza, where we had very high prevalence of HIV/AIDS that took away a lot of our young people. And most of the homes that were there are remaining with old people who do not have anybody to take them, to look after them. This causes a case where you find that it's only the old elderly with the young children of the parents who passed away, either through HIV or COVID, who are remaining in the village. Most of these young people are selling the homes and selling the land, to the point that you find that this elderly person is staying in a home where there's nowhere she can be able to support, or he can be able to support themselves in those villages. There's that neglect. And you don't have homes like in Europe, where you have these elderly homes where we can even take these elderly people to stay in. So to me, the bringing up of this bill is very, very timely for us to be able to see how can we support them. Number two is the dignity of these old people. We go to spaces where we have public spaces. When they go to the public hospitals or any place where they go to look for services, in most cases, they are kept waiting like any other ordinary person or well person who is there. We need to see that how do we actually give them the space to continue having their dignity in these public places. And the other one is that the facilities that we need. Like, for example, when we wanted to get aids, or you want to get for them aids, like the aids they use for walking, the walking frame, the crutches, and all the aids that they need. These aids are not cheap. And in most cases, they don't get them free like they should in whatever, because when you're elderly, it doesn't mean necessarily that you're sick and you should be treated as a sick person, but you could be disabled in the sense that you can't do the things you used to do, and you need this aid. And yet this aid is supposed to be bought. These elderly people do not even have the kind of money to buy this. So for me, I believe that this bill will bring a big change. And we must also say that now we are going to be having, and we do have more elderly people in the society, and this means that we need to look for ways that we are going to support these elderly people in the society. Therefore, for me, I do support this bill and think that it is a very necessary one. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Ainai Moi. Honorable Ambassador Benjamin Langat.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to this bill. Madam Speaker, let me thank the mover of the bill for the research that she has done and be able to table the bill in this House. This bill, Madam Speaker, actually is under Article 57 of the Constitution. And I remember one member here has just said there are 3 categories of people where the Constitution has given special mention, but actually there are 4, Madam Speaker. There are the children, Madam Speaker, which we must take care of. We have persons with disabilities, which we have taken care of, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we also have the youth, which we have also taken care of. Madam Speaker, minorities and marginalized groups, Madam Speaker, which by and large we have also taken care of. Madam Speaker, I think all the members of the society are the only group that have not been taken care of by way of legislation or organization, Madam Speaker. So I want to say I support this bill. All the persons are members of our community. They have contributed to our society. They have contributed to our economy. They continue to contribute to our culture and so forth, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, Kenya is where it is today because of the people who are the elderly of this country, Madam Speaker. And somebody has said we are also going to that direction, Madam Speaker. At that age, Madam Speaker, there are those who are lucky they still have children who take care of them, Madam Speaker. Culturally, many of the communities will obligate the children to take care of their parents. But the society where we are today, Madam Speaker, is changing. Children are growing up, they are pursuing their career, they are pursuing their education. Some of them are actually going outside the country, Madam Speaker, leaving their parents behind. Madam Speaker, even though you might find parents who are well-to-do, they have land, they have money, Madam Speaker, but at that age, they are incapacitated, Madam Speaker. And therefore, we must have a framework that provides that the state can take care of them. I like the idea that we are forming a council that will actually pursue and follow the rights of these members of the society. Madam Speaker, even as we form the council, we must make sure that we put structures all the way up to the lower level where we can be able to identify the elderly, the vulnerable members of the society. So I want to thank the member and say I support. I think this house, we have continued to provide for monies to support the elderly, Madam Speaker. But I want to say, maybe this is the time we need to reconsider the amounts. This is the time we need to reconsider the criteria. I think with this council, we hopefully that they'll come with a criteria that really defines who is an elder person, at what age, and what criteria. Because I think what we have been using in the past, Madam Speaker, has been very discriminatory. You can find same people of the same age. One of them is enjoying the benefits, the other one is not enjoying the benefits. But I think it's high time that we harmonize so that all people of a certain category are given the same support, Madam Speaker. So I support the bill. I hope the committee will look at it, as has been said, including the name, the structures that will be formed. But by and large, Madam Speaker, I want to say I support. In fact, when time comes for voting for the funds to support the elderly, Madam Speaker, I will be the first one to support, because elder people are our senior members. Those of us who are Christians, we are called upon to respect your parents, to take care of our parents, so that our numbers, our age can be increased, Madam Speaker. So I totally support and look forward to taking care of the elderly people. I support.
Thank you, Abasanda. The Honorable Hilary Kosgei, member for Kipkelion West.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I join my colleagues in congratulating the member for Githunguri, the Honorable Wamushomba, for coming up with this timely and progressive bill, Madam Speaker. At independence, Madam Speaker, the crafters and the founders of this republic were so concerned about building the new nation that they put a lot of energy in the youth, white-collar jobs, and other sectors of the economy, and forgot that they are the ones to get old in due course, Madam Speaker. And you have seen, Madam Speaker, recently, the people who fought for independence in this country, the Mau Maus, they have died a deplorable life, Madam Speaker, because of lack of bills that are progressive, that were to take care of them in their old age like this, Madam Speaker. And therefore, Madam Speaker, this is not only a call to the country. Madam Speaker, Gathoni Wamushomba is also responding to a biblical scripture in the book of Psalms, chapter 71, verse 6. Madam Speaker, where the psalmist says, "Cast me not in the time of my old age, forsake me not when my strength fails." Madam Speaker, this is the age of the founders of the Republic of Kenya, those people who put on a lot of energy to build this nation. And this bill, Madam Speaker, is now forward-looking, to look at those who are aging after this, to take care of them. And when this is passed, Madam Speaker, we will be able to address issues that have been said by members, including the issue even of the stipends that the older people are getting, Madam Speaker. Because we know that this stipend, when it was first passed, it was based on a UN convention that does not allow anybody to live beyond $1 a day. And when that was done, Madam Speaker, the dollar was at 70 shillings. That is why when you multiply 70 by 30, you get 2,100. Right now, the dollar is way over 150. These monies should be the same level at below $1 a day, where nobody is supposed to live. This board, that when it comes to effect, will always be reminding government and the legislators and the people of the Republic of Kenya that nobody should live below $1 a day. And Madam Speaker, when you go to the West, the elderly are not even bothered about their children because they established bills that took care of their old age when they were still young, Madam Speaker. And therefore, when you are in the US, when someone gets age, he has money and stipends and all these, and they can admit themselves even to the elderly homes and live a good life, awaiting their maker to call them Madam Speaker. So a lot of concerns, Madam Speaker, that have been raised by members here will be taken care during the Committee of the Whole, where we will seek to amend the bill to capture not a more scientific name like the geriatric bills, but a name that is easily understood by the people of Kenya. But by and large, Madam Speaker, I seek to support this bill and say that it is progressive and it is timely. It is going to create a more happy and a prosperous Kenya, especially for the aged. I thank you, Madam Speaker, and I support.
Thank you. The Honorable Mary Emase, member for Teso South.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I also want to, first of all, appreciate Honorable Mchomba. Let's applaud her for this very good bill that she's brought before the House that seeks to create or establish a council for the elderly persons. Indeed, Madam Speaker, even in the absence of Article 57, the Constitution does prohibit discrimination on the basis of age or otherwise. So it is actually a right, and it's an obligation to the state not only to protect the elderly people, but to promote and encourage initiatives, including financing programs that address the welfare of the elderly persons. Madam Speaker, establishing a council, I think, is the right thing to do, because as Honorable Amchomba has rightfully put it, the youth have a council. Persons with disability have a council. When we have a body corporate dedicated to addressing the issues of a special group, then we are bound to, get maximum attention and therefore we'll be able to see results. And therefore, I believe this will enable the elders to be appropriately represented in all spheres of life, especially on areas that affect them, in decisions that are being made by boards, by government, in areas that affect the elderly people will be able to be represented adequately by the council, especially areas health, physical planning, their social welfare issues, among others. Madam Speaker, I would want to even appeal to the proposer, to the owner of the bill, that this bill should be made more comprehensive, more workable and acceptable. Because when we look at the elderly people in our community, most of them have been abandoned. The children have migrated to the cities to look for opportunities. There is nobody to take care of them. Probably this bill should also accommodate the aspect of developing a structure, the council to be able to develop a structure where even families, there is some incentivizing of the families to be able to support, to be able to provide that necessary support for the elderly people, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, even when we look at the elderly people, that is from the age of 60 and above, these are people who are still very strong, very energetic, with vast experiences, because they are from employment opportunities, from businesses, and with vast knowledge and experience. Probably also this bill should provide for how government can leverage on these experiences that our elderly people have, so that they remain active, participating in activities that promote their social well-being, instead of just abandoning these elderly people. As soon as they get out of active employment, they are abandoned, they are forgotten, and yet they can still be very useful to the society. Madam Speaker, also, I believe this council would be able to develop a structure, a proper structure, on how the social welfare funds, the stipends that our elderly people are given, can be disbursed to the elderly people. Because we've had challenges. Some of them with the money, especially when they get the arrears, when it gets to 4 months, 8,000 shillings. It is taken away from them before they even get to their homes. So, or the agents who have been given the responsibility by government to disburse these funds, there have been challenges. I've had to deal with that in my own constituency in Teso South, where I had to take it upon myself, go to the banks, go to the agents, threaten to report them to the police. Then they begin to say, you know, the fingerprints was not working, I don't know what, we will pay them, and then eventually actually they go to be paid their monies. So with the council, they will be able to put proper structures, proper audit structures, and therefore it will promote accountability in the disbursement of these funds. Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I want to thank the Honorable Mchomba for bringing up this proposal, this bill, before the House. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Dick Maungu, member for Luanda.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity given so that I can also share and give my ideas to the same. Allow me to appreciate the author of the bill for an idea well thought about, an idea that is timely, and an idea that comes to fill a gap that does exist within our legislation, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the elderly, it's always said that old is gold. But in Kenya, we have not been able to treat our elderly as gold. And that has resulted as a result of a gap in our legislation. Article 57 of our Constitution is very clear about the rights of the elderly. But as captured by earlier people who've discussed, we've not been able to come up with a legislation that can give life to Article 57 of our Constitution, whereby the elderly
amount needs to be increased, and to make sure also that all the elderly persons are registered and they are supported. And this will also ease the dependency ratio of our people. And Honorable Speaker, many of the able age, that is the working age, have a burden to take care of the children and now the elderly. So this one will ease their issue when the elderly are taken care of. Honorable Speaker, I would also say that the elderly people needs their basic needs, that is food, clothing, shelter, and they also need security, Honorable Speaker. Looking at this, I'm a very happy person to note of this bill where we are talking about the prohibition of the abuse of the elderly people. Should this be physical or even sexually? I'm aware of many elderly women who have been abused sexually, and that one pains a lot, Honorable Speaker. So this bill will take care of that. And knowing that these elderly people also, some of them are very strong, that they are very useful in our societies. They can still do many of the chores in the homes. They can still do, maybe get a source of income, and therefore they need to be supported and they need to be encouraged. Honorable Speaker. And I would also say that looking at this bill, the priority areas needs to be taken care of, and this is where the budget comes in. More budget for the same representation, like the legal representation, so that if they have issues to do with land or any of their property, knowing that each and every person in this country is free to own any property. The elderly also are having that in mind, they own property, but sometimes, Honorable Speaker, their property is taken away. So at least when we have the legal representation for the same, it will be very, very easy for these elderly people. So Honorable Speaker, I support this one, and I pray that the title can be made in a way that it will be very easy for people to understand. Otherwise, it is qualifying the Article 57 of the Constitution. And once more, I say thank you very much, Honorable Wamuchomba, for bringing in this bill. Asante sana.
The Honorable Madam Rueda, followed by the Honorable Maina Madenge.
Asante Bwana Spika kunipatia nami nafasi nichangie kwa hili baraza la kitaifa la wazee. Wazee ni baraka. Tunaelewa vizuri kwamba wazee wamefanya kazi wakaja wakastaafu, lakini wao wamestaafu kwa sababu ya miaka tu kuambiwa wastaafu, lakini tumbo halistaafu. Tumbo lata kuangaliwa vile vile kila siku. So kuna haja kubwa ya kuangaliwa hawa wazee na kupangiwa mipango mizuri ili wazee hawa wetu wawe ni baraka kwetu, isiwe ni usumbufu kwetu. Bwana Spika, wazee ni wale watu wanafaa kuchukua kuwa kwamba wamefanya kazi za nguvu, kupoteza nguvu zao, wanafaa kuangaliwa vizuri, ni wakati wao waangaliwe. Aweza kuwa watoto wakapata huo muda kuangalia, na waweza kupata watoto wakorofi wasiwe na au hakupata mafunzo vizuri au wakashikana na mambo mengine wasiangalie wazazi wao. Itakuwa ni jukumu la serikali kuangalia hawa wazee, isiwe wamewekwa kwenye vipembe au wamefungiwa kwenye nyumba. Wazee wakati huo ndo tunaona wazee wengine wanatembea. Ukienda Masai Mara, nimefanya kazi Masai Mara miaka 13. Wageni wengi na beba ni wazee. Wakati huo ndo wamekuja kutembea, pengine wamekuja na wajukuu wao au wamekuja wao wenyewe vizere viwili pengine vimekuja kutembea. Huku kwetu mambo kama hayo huyapati. Unapata vizere hivyo ni vigonjwa viko nyumbani, wamefanya kazi ngumu. Kama kule kwetu Lamu Mashariki, wazee wetu walifanya kazi ngumu sana. Manake kazi za kule ni kwenda baharini. Uende baharini, uende ukavute juya. Kuvuta juya ni unavuta kamba mpaka mikono inashika ngudi. So wazee wale wakiwa wazee wanakuwa wanahitaji matibabu mengi tofauti. Lakini wazee wetu kusema kweli walifanya kazi nzito na wanafaa kupata matibabu. Sasa hasa wale watu wangu wa Lamu Mashariki matibabu hawapati kwa sababu sisi hospitali ya rufaa ambayo iko karibu kwetu ni Kenyatta Hospital. Utoke Mzee wa Kiunga, Ishakani, Mkokoni, Ndao, Kiwayu, Chandani, kutoka huko ndio nimesema wodi moja. Watoke kule mwisho waje hospitali ya rufaa ambayo inaitwa level 6 ni hapa Kenyatta Hospital. Tunafaa kuangalia zaidi. Mimi naunga mkono sana kwa sababu najua wale wangu wanaumia zaidi. Kama kuna wengine wanaumia, basi wangu wanaumia zaidi. Bwana Spika, kuna culture au dasturi za watu wengine au kitamaduni wanachukua wazee wanawafanya sasa kama ambaye washamaliza kazi yao hawafai tena. Hizo ni laana na serikali inafaa iangalie kwa karibu wale watoto ambao haangalii wazazi wao au jamii pia ambao hawapendi wazee. Hiyo mambo ya kusema mzee ni mchawi, hiyo ishtakiwe na itukuliwe adhabu kali wapatiwe. Mambo hayo yanatokea sehemu zingine. Mtu amekuzaa, amekulea, amekufanyia mambo yote kisha unaja kusema ni mchawi kwa sababu pengine wataka ardhi yake, kwa sababu pengine watoto wake wamekushinda, unasema mzee ni mchawi. Tunataka serikali katika hiyo pia iwekwe mambo ya kuwahifadhi hawa wazee, ya kuwasaidia, ili mambo kama hayo mtu akifanya mmoja iwe funzo kwa wengine asiweze kufanya tena. Hii kumwita inasikitisha. Yani mzee, sisi tunaambiwa, tunafundishwa tuheshimu mpaka wazee wa wengine majirani zaidi hata kushinda wako. Kisha mtu upate mtu anamwita mzee mchawi, itakuwa yeye mwenyewe ndiye mchawi huyo. So itabidi katika council hii au baraza hili liangalie mbinu mbali na mambo ya matibabu na mbinu ya kuwafanya wazee au itumike kama fida. Wanawake washtaki na wafatilizie kesi moja ili iwe funzo kwa wengine, ili wazee wetu nao wapate heshima, wazee wetu nao waishi kama wengine. Bwana Spika, mimi kuna wakati nilienda Singapore, niliwahi kuona wazee wanatunzwa kwa mpangilio mwingine. Kazi za taxi driver, dereva wa taxi, zote zilikuwa ziko na wazee. Ukipanda gari unaona ni wazee. Hawa wazee mkienda ukiweka nyumbani kwa sababu ya miaka, mfano miaka 60 yeye astaafu, unaenda kumwambia aende akakae, kama hajajipanga vizuri, hana biashara, hana mambo mengi, unaenda kumwambia kaa ungoje kifo au kaa ungoje kupewa. Kwa nini kusiwe na mipango ya hawa wazee wakapawa ile hope, yani kuwapa na wao wajue, wape moyo kwamba baada ya kustaafu kuna mengine unaweza fanya. So kwa mtindo huu inaweza pangiwa mambo fulani mazuri ambao wazee kila wakati watakuwa wakienda na wakiendelea na maisha. Bwana Spika, nimelitangulia kusema kwamba wazee ni baraka na wazee wanastaafu lakini tumbo halistaafu. Kwa hivyo nataka niombe kuwe na mikakati ambayo itachukua hawa wazee ili waendelee kufanya kazi hata kama ndogo ndogo, kama wamekosa zile kazi zingine, lakini wapewe kazi zingine wakiendelea, wakingojea. Manake sisi tunaambiwa watu wanaona kama ni baada after 60 ndio wanaenda wanakaa wangoje kufa. Kufa ni ya Mungu. Sisi mzee anaweza kufa kijana, anaweza kufa mzee. Lakini tukiwaacha tu wakae hivyo haitawasaidia. Asante Bwana Spika.
The MP for Nyeri Town, Madenge, followed by the MP for Buri.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to add my voice to congratulate the Honorable Gathoni Wamoshoba for the timely presentation in the Parliament of this bill to give life to Article 57 of the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, however, when we look at holistically at the kind of life that the elderly people are living in our country, and especially those who have served our government in different capacities in the past, the saddest story is the story of teachers who taught and retired during the Moi era, and up to now, their pensions have never been paid. A lot of them have passed on, waiting for these pensions. And this framework provides for a firm and solid way of dealing with some of these issues. The second area, Mr. Speaker, is the issue of food and nutrition security for our elderly people. That with age, they are over their productive years. And therefore, as a country, we have a duty of care to them. And therefore, the issue of providing food, even as we provide relief food, the question of how organized we are as a country in providing not only just food to fill the stomach, but food that is able to respond to the nutritional needs of our elderly people. The other area, Mr. Speaker, is the issue of health services. We know that with age, the health expenditures and health bills drastically increase. At that age, most of these people are suffering from the non-communicable diseases, which are much more difficult and much more expensive to treat. A provision within the requirements of provision of health services to support them with expensive drugs for diabetes, hypertension, eye treatment, and mobility aids for those with arthritis is an area that we can expand in the bill. Mr. Speaker, a lot of our people at that age, the elderly, are also living in very deplorable conditions. The provision of shelter for our people, and especially now that we have these affordable housing projects, the affordable housing program should also be specifically tailor-made to respond to the needs of our elderly. Mr. Speaker, the other saddest part is the kind of times that our elderly people have to spend in the corridors of justice when they are pursuing succession and land cases. And again, this is an area where this bill can be improved to provide explicit provisions, including timelines for when cases involving the elderly must be dealt with and concluded within our corridors of justice. So once again, I want to congratulate Honorable Wamushoba, and I support this bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The MP for Buri, followed by the MP for Bondo.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity.
Followed by the MP for Central Imenti. Yeah.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving this opportunity. I rarely agree with Honorable Gathoni Wamushomba on many things, but on this one, I truly agree with her. Mr. Speaker, this bill has come the right time. We cannot leave our senior citizens behind as we move forth. Why? Because they gave birth to us, they fought for our freedom, they took us to school, they worked for us, they are farmers, civil servants, etc., etc. Mr. Speaker, these people are the foundation of our society, and therefore, this bill, as it is recognized in the Constitution and Article 57, they have a right like any other Kenyan citizen. And having benefited from them is the right thing that we can do, is to give them comfort in their last days on earth. Mr. Speaker, this bill is going to improve the living conditions of our elderly citizens. Mr. Speaker, we all come from rural areas and even urban centers. It's as like these people, they are not treated like anybody else. We have been talking of civil servants, members of parliament, teachers, etc. This is a very strong constituency of Kenyans. They need attention in terms of medical facilities. They need attention in terms of feeding programs. They need to be recognized by the society and even by the government. They need social comfort, Mr. Speaker. If you visit US, UK, the developed world, you always find home for the elderly. And the state takes full responsibility of these senior citizens. I think Kenya is mature enough now to recognize and to move forward in ensuring that our senior citizens have the best of everything. Mr. Speaker, this bill is going to set forth an operation, an authority or commission to be in charge of these elderly people. And I agree that money must be put and adequate money must be put. I also agree with the incoming Madam Speaker when she said that we need to institute research on the elderly I totally support that now we need statistics every year generated through Kenyan Bureau of Statistics to determine the number of people according to the age classifications and specifically those over 70 years. It is through that we will be able to know the kind of resources and distribution of those resources that the government need to put in place. Mr. Speaker, we as a House, we need to apologize to the elderly because there is a line item on the amount of money being allocated for the elderly has never been given significant attention in this House. And moving forward, is my view and my conviction that we need to put more money for the elderly. I agree the 2,000 shillings, even in terms of value, is not adequate. I think this minimum people they need to is 5,000 every month. So, Madam Speaker, as I congratulate Madam Kadhonwa Mushomba, let's also remind ourselves, as a society, we have failed. Many people rarely go to take care of their parents. Many people rarely go to the rural areas. Once we vacate the rural areas, many of us rarely go back. I challenge the Kenyan society today that we need to make it compulsory. Every person must take care of his or her parent. And I think, Wamushomba, you need to look at that. That you cannot leave your father and mother